When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands that connect them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station that the laws of God and God's nature entitle them. A due respect for the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes that impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That when any government becomes destructive of these rights, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to establish new form of government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Those words from the Declaration of Independence were revolutionary in 1776, and they remain revolutionary today. And despite all the controversy that we've heard about America and our role on the world stage, we remain a beacon of hope, a torch of liberty for millions and really billions of people across the world. Most people in the world wish that they could make their country more like ours. Some people are so disgusted with their country, they'd rather just leave and live here. Some people hate us so much, they don't mind committing suicide while slaughtering our citizens. And whether you love us, you want to leave your country and come live here, or slaughter us, they are motivated by those founding first principles, which I just elucidated from the Declaration of Independence. The rule of law, equality, the social compact, limited government, unalienable rights, and the right to abolish or reform an oppressive government. We are the only nation in human history that was founded on principles, on ideas. And those first principles are what bind us together. Most nations in world history are bound together by other things, by language, custom, religion, dress. The Alps happen to be here, the river is there, the separation of geography, or military might. Beginning anew, America was founded on a set of first principles: the rule of law, unalienable rights, equality, the social compact, limited government, and the right to abolish an oppressive government. In his address to the Young Men's Lyceum of Springfield, Illinois in 1838, Abraham reflected that the greatest threat to America is suicide. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it is ever to reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from overbroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a men of free men, we must live through all time, or die by suicide. Lincoln's warning so long ago reveals his political genius. Today our survival is threatened, but not by the economic crisis, but in a crisis of the spirit. And that is so because America has become unanchored. We are adrift. And I'm not talking about the fiscal crisis that is slamming America and Michigan. But before we can understand how we are adrift, we must first understand exactly what is our sheet anchor. We have been bequeathed the most unique, just, and free constitutional order the world has ever seen. Thomas Paine wrote in The Rights of Man that the independence of America, considered merely as a separation from England, would have been a matter of little importance, had it not been accompanied by a revolution in the principles and practice of government. She made a stand, not for herself only, but for the world, and looked beyond the advantages herself could receive. Our populace and our elites are downright ignorant of our history, civics, and the first principles that hold our republic together and preserve our freedom. Most studies reveal that most of our citizens are ill-informed about history and do not understand the basics of our Constitution. Not only are they ignorant, but they're really unconcerned about their ignorance. They're ignorant about what they're ignorant about. Most Americans spend more time engaged with game shows, reality television, technology, hobbies, sports, entertainment, gossip, Leslie Lohan, Britney Spears, do I have to go on, than our political system. Critical thinking about our political issues and public affairs is rare. Although significant numbers of well-intentioned citizens are engaged in some manner in public policy, their participation is too often ill-informed and shallow. Americans, this group accepted, are also disengaged. As one report explains, quote, Americans have turned away from politics in the public sphere in large numbers, leaving our civic life impoverished. Citizens are participating in public affairs less frequently, with less knowledge and enthusiasm in fewer venues, and less equally than is healthy for a vibrant democratic polity, unquote. In short, the great bulk of Americans are unprepared to be responsible and active citizens. Now, this is not surprising, given the absolute abject performance of our schools in teaching American history and civics. Only a quarter of high school seniors possess an adequate working knowledge of civics to make reasonable, informed decisions in elections, which is another way of saying 75% of our high school seniors don't know how to vote. Only 13% of high school seniors are considered proficient in American history, which means 87% of our high school seniors are not proficient in American history, and more than half are below the basic level. If you're below the basic level, that means you fill in your name and you fill in the bubbles and your score there. One member of the governing board of the National Assessment of Education Progress has acknowledged that the test results of high school students in American history are abysmal. Over the last generation, the amount of time high schools dedicate to civics and social studies has plummeted. No wonder that a recent study by the National Conference for State Legislators concluded that young people do not understand the ideals of citizenship, they are disengaged from the political process, they lack the knowledge necessary for effective self-government, and their appreciation and support of American democracy is limited. This crisis does not stop at our fine institutions of higher education. Often you hear the retort, well, that's okay. We have good colleges and universities, so if the high school kids don't do so well, that's okay, because they don't run the country anyway. The people that go to the higher education do. Well, nearly 80% of seniors at 55 top colleges and universities, including Harvard and Princeton, received a D or an F on a high school level American history test. The seniors, 80% flunking the American high school history test. In fact, our colleges and universities generally fail to increase knowledge about Americans' history and institutions. Seniors at some Ivy League colleges actually know less than they did as freshmen. That's called negative learning. Imagine spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year to go into college so that you can become stupid. That is what we've done. Furthermore, many challenge the very legitimacy of our history and first principles. Indeed, some leading academics, journalists, politicians, and social elites directly or indirectly attacked our founding principles as irrelevant, backward, and false. Multiculturalists argue that our history is one of oppression, and that our civilization is simply one of many equal alternatives. Equating America with military juntas, tribalism, fascism, and communist regimes is commonplace. Simply put, too many Americans take for granted the freedoms they enjoy, while ignoring the dire need of our system to be reinvigorated and protected by those enjoying its blessings. Our experiment in self-government requires a vibrant understanding of our principles and engagement by an informed public. The first principles have transcended their original historical context and have been an engine of great social, political, and economic progress, resulting in a phenomenal expansion of freedom and a momentous improvement in racial, gender, social, and economic equality. The unfulfilled promise of the first principles is what motivated and drove America to eliminate slavery, enfranchise